welcome to the panel, but I think we still miss one. Okay. So, welcome to the last panel, everyone, for this morning. I think it's great to be the moderators for the panel of these women leaders in business and entrepreneurship. I think to start, I would like to start with Dr. Mai Hướng, because I have not listened to your speech before. So could you please tell us about what you and your organization are doing to promote women entrepreneurship and education?
Thank you so much. Good morning again, everybody. I think we have four, so I try to be very brief. I have two organizations working for now. The first is VN-UK Institute for Research and Executive Education, and we are a member of University of Da Nang. So one of my very main passion is inspiring and educating for the student to become the entrepreneurs, or at least they have a passion to be entrepreneurs. And the second is now I'm also the co-chair of Da Nang Innovation Hub, where we provide training and mentoring for the young people. And especially now we have the course for like Kids Coder, Kids Explorer, and Kids Entrepreneurs, where we try to give a training for the kids to build the new generation of Vietnam, or basically in Da Nang at least. Thank you.
Okay, so so far, how do you see the progress, and are you happy with the progress, and how do you see the futures of these trends of women in business?
Women in business, I must say, if you, not only in Vietnam, but also everywhere around the world, we see less, like we also listen from the previous speech, there are less women in business. But of course, we have a strong belief that in the future this trend will change, and especially with the strong support of very inspiring women. And of course, there should be and there must be the strong participation of the men who believe in the value and the contribution of female entrepreneurs.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So next, Mrs. Ha Dang, the founders and chief advisor of Respect Women in Vietnam. So could you please tell us about what you and your organization do?
Thank you. My organization actually called Respect Vietnam. Just the name itself is our mission is to try in any ability that we could do in order to help the labor market in Vietnam in compete with not only with in order to increase and improve the human resource capacity in the country, helping young people was in the news and very fast changing world. We provide policy advice and technical assistance for not only the government but also the entrepreneurship. And we also create a different initiative in order to help young people to find and land the dream job. And then we're giving the ultimate working skill package in order to help this labor market. So when we would be able to consider ourselves as one of the startups, we also start to learn about technology, because I have no idea about technology. And we see since huge wave of startups in Vietnam over the past year. And we said, so we're going to learn and use technology to reach our more young people, and in order to make our labor market in Vietnam more competitive. Thank you.
Okay, it's great. So I think I move to the next speakers, Mrs. Su Ying from the Unitas Impact Ventures Capital. Oh, VC, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I understand that in your VC, you have a special focus on investing in women. Can you tell us what is the frameworks there? What is the mechanism that you are using to invest in women there?
Right. So I mean, you know, I'm at Panama Capital, which used to be known as Unitas Impact. So there's a bit of confusion right now, and we're the most active social venture capital firm in Asia, and you know, for the past 17 years, I mean, we've been investing in companies which unlock better economic opportunities for low-income people. Very recently, though, as you mentioned, we have launched a fund specifically for investing in female entrepreneurs. And I guess the natural question is why do we do that, right? And I think there's a couple of reasons. I think firstly, the leadership team of our firm is incredibly committed to, you know, to supporting women entrepreneurs and greater diversity in tech because it's the right thing to do. And I think, you know, the recent wave of kind of scandals and coming out of Silicon Valley and even closer to home, I mean, show that the tech industry still can be a very toxic place to work for some, and I think we want to be a key part of changing that. The second piece is we see the opportunity. So, I mean, historically, our whole investment thesis is centered around the opportunity for kind of rising incomes, emerging middle class in Asia. And actually, I mean, women are an incredibly key part of that. So right now, I mean, women control about half of consumer spending, and that's expected to increase to 2/3 by 2028, according to BCG. So that's kind of a powerful economic trend that one can't ignore. I mean, and as previous speakers have pointed out, women's workforce participation is rising rapidly, and I think in Southeast Asia particularly, I mean, many women are actually starting businesses. Yet at the same time, we see this disconnect where many of these businesses are not able to access capital, or capital which is right for them. And I think as a result, we wanted to fill that gap in the market because it would be a missed opportunity not to do that. And I think the third reason why we're interested in, you know, looking at gender as a decision-making tool is that we believe it will give us more information to help us make better investment decisions. And I think as an investor, who doesn't want that? So I mean, I think that's the rationale for doing what we do. So out of this fund, we'll be investing in 6 to 8 women-led businesses across Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. But this is merely a stepping stone. I mean, we really want to embed you know, gender and diversity as a key kind of decision-making criteria into our larger investing work. And I think right now we're undergoing this process where we're really looking at every single step of our investment process, from sourcing, due diligence, term sheet negotiation, structuring, you know, investment committee presentations and you know, post-investment support to understand how gender plays a role in that and what we can do to proactively kind of, you know, reduce or tackle some of the biases which exist, I think, even within our own team.
And how was the experience so far? Is there a challenge in finding the right investment in where there's a woman as a founder or things like that?
I think it's too early to say, but I think we're all incredibly confident that we can find, I mean, that the talented you know, female entrepreneurs are out there. And I think it's beholden upon us as investors to find them, and I think also help understand their businesses better, so we can better appreciate the qualities that they're bringing to the table and the economic value that they're unlocking.
Okay, sounds like very good news for the women entrepreneurs. And now back to Jenny. In your presentation, you mentioned about the networks, how important is these networks, and you encouraging founders and entrepreneurs to be part of the network. But in that presentation, I didn't catch what network it is and how to be part of that network. Can you share some on that?
Like how to be part of the network?
Yes, to be part of that network that you're referring to.
Yeah, so I mean, well, obviously, I'm going to do a little pitch here, sales pitch, and ask like, well, it's of course, everything starts by coming to our conference 20th of September in Singapore. But I mean, the thing is that, I mean, actually being part of the network itself, I mean, it just, we're working with around 30 different organizations, existing organizations, and that are doing amazing work in the field. I mean, we're looking at Lean In, we're looking at, you know, Women Who Code, Girls in Tech, looking at, you know, female founders, UN Women. I mean, there is, I didn't even know before I came to this space and starting to learn about this, women in tech theme and around it and what is happening around it, I did not even know how many networks there are out there, and how many resources are out there. And I think that even in Singapore, I've listed up to 50 different organizations and groups for that, and they are also different focus points. So, some are, for example, catering very, very experienced coders. So they want to become like leadership or CTO level. So there's groups for that. Of course, then there are a lot of networks for women who basically want to go into tech and go into coding. So then that's a different thing. And then of course there are like a more there are networks for C-level women they have a lot of opportunities, and they have so they are looking at how they can best utilize what they have, and like how they can even reach even further. So like there are different groups out there, and so how do you answering to your question, like how do you become part of it, is that you really have to find and talk to for example the founders of these different networks, because these networks, we typically know one another. So it is about basically figuring out what networks are right for you, and what networks will give you the best resources and contacts to get you where you want to go, because all of us have different stuff that we need in terms of like whether I'm building a business or when I'm looking at, for example, investing in technology. So that's why the resource and the networks are already out there, and this is something that I'm kind of like want to emphasize, because I did not know this over a year ago. I wasn't aware.
Okay, great. So my second question to you is that when we think about business, when we think about the market, a free market economy, we think the rationale is that if you are good in something, let's do business, focus on that things. For example, if I'm good at producing garments, then I focus on producing garment, and then I decide to buy car from others. Right? I don't produce car where I'm not good at that. And so why it's been always thinking that I think a lot of people believe that men are better in tech. They are doing that, at least there is their interest in tech more than women. And why you focus on women in tech in this time?
Can I answer this in actually by quoting a person called Linda Liukas, Miss Linda Liukas? So far what I've understood is that, so before I went to this women in tech space and just working as an entrepreneur, I think I kind of like also, I always thought that there's not too many women in tech. Actually, that's not true. The only thing is really, there's actually a lot of women in tech. There are a lot of women doing CTO roles. There are a lot of women actually doing products. I think that the problem has been really that there hasn't been too much buzz around it. And I think that that's one of the things what we're planning to do is we actually want to showcase these women that are out there doing amazing things. But going back to Linda Liukas, so she actually works with young children, and she trains them to code from a very, very young age. And there's like, it's both boys and girls. And so she has this spiel that she talks a lot about. She's given TED Talks, and she's wrote a book about it, about what she sees when she's training these young kids, about coding, about tech. There's no difference. There is no difference between girls and boys at that age. They're equally excited. They're equally interested. They're equally talented. There's no differences. But something happens, along that, path when you're growing older. And I don't know, like, there's many different reasons. For example, it might be even that, when you go to your parents and you're getting excited about, coding or tech, and like your parents are not able to explain this to you. So it's kind of like, oh, it's too difficult, just, don't worry about it, like, do something else. So I mean, something happens, and it's not yet clear exactly like what happens in that along those lines, but basically when they get older, so then you start having perhaps these like differences, and you might even call it as a bias. But I wouldn't say, I mean, I think it's a misperception in the media and in the society right now that women are not as good as them, or they are not interested in STEM. So that's actually I don't think that's the point. But But yes, new research that I've seen from early this year by MasterCard, they interviewed about 2,200 women. I think it was between 12 and 20 years old, around that, in 6 different countries in South APAC. And so, but what they did find, yes, is that there's still some. If you interview these young women, so that there's still some bias actually that they think that this is a man's world, which is actually it isn't. So I think that's something that we have to change by building this awareness that they don't go believing that this is not for you.
Great,
Maybe
thank
could
you.
I add on to that a little bit? I mean, I think you're absolutely right, but I think you also make a good point that today there's probably there are less STEM graduates coming out of university. Who are women versus men, and I think, but that also belies the point that there's many ways to be involved in the tech ecosystem without being the coder or the developer or the CTO, right? I often see examples of incredible female, co-founders, founders, who hire a great CTO, who provides the kind of tech-enabled platform or technology to build what they want to do. But they have the vision, they have the business acumen, they're the ones really driving the vision of the company.
Okay.
Really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a trend, maybe not only in Asia but everywhere now. Like there's a lot of focus on or effort to improve women participation in various sectors, any sector, from not just normal entrepreneurships, even tech, right? And you interested in game as well. So I would like to pose this question to Dr. Mi Huong. It's, your view on why there's a lot of initiative to improve women participation in all this activity right now.
I think my colleagues already share about the participation of women in business, and I would like to take this advantage to share about participation of the lecturers in senior position in the university. Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, because I see many of my colleagues here come from the university, and I think it's sadly that not only in Vietnam, in Asia, but also in the I just read the research about the participation of the women in the higher position in the university. Unfortunately, only about 25 or 30% of women who are in the governing position, and moreover, about 1/3 of those people in higher position have tried is a woman, and 2/3 men. 2/3 are men who have tried. It means less women have tried when they are in the highest position. Quite briefly, I can say that basically, even in the university, the women have less opportunities, not only in business. And we see many conflicts about balance between life and career. And I was inspired strongly by Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, and also Emma Watson. They continuously fight for the woman to be in the leadership position. So I would like to bias a bit from your question, and I would like together, all of us, like Ms. Hieng also say, if a woman can win, all we can win. And also in this room, more women, fortunately, more women than men. And we would like to inspire all the women, just fight continually and be confident to be in the leadership position. And I read many stories about when we ask a question, you ask the same question for the woman and the man always say, if you ask about the success, the man always say, okay, because I'm awesome, or I'm very intelligent because I do the good job. The woman often say like, okay, it's because I'm lucky, or I have some very good supporter. So first of all, I think the woman must be, first of all, you have to confident in yourself. You of course, yes, but I would like all of the women in this room will say, must be confident about yourself and continuously fight for the leadership position of the woman. I would like to say a little bit more, something I feel sad because I look back the story of the University of Da Nang, and I probably I'm the first woman in the highest position of the school. Usually, all the like director of the school of the University of Da Nang are the male, never the female. And look at the meeting of the Prime Minister when they visit the University of Da Nang. In the photo, about 30 people, all of them are male. And the meeting of the Deputy Prime Minister, the meeting with Vũ Đức Đam, also that meeting, all are male. And we lack of the participation of women in the university and decision-making body of the university. And if one more thing, how it's related to the business, if you have more female in the leadership or management position, you can bring more or produce more business. I strongly believe so. Marco, you agree?
Okay, so
I would like to add into that because if here is a conference more about women in tech, I'm come here to learn about technology and women in tech, and it's a lot of it admire for them, for you here. But in talking about normal women, I mean, on average, and the labor market and what we're doing, not only in economic, social, but politics, we realize that female leaders, it's been over the past 10 years, over the past 5 years actually, thanks to UN Women, everywhere we're talking about he for she woman leader. But eventually, under deep down the society, the mindset of having a woman with so much constraint is not actually changing much. It's basically from the woman itself who can get through the pain, the hardship, the difficulties, and the challenge. Because out there's, there are so many violations from the man who's the breadwinner of the house, even the woman will be leader or not, they can get beaten. And the kids, the young kids look at the mom doing that, whether she want to do something different or to try to be, better than the mom and do something for the father, not doing so. It's the campaign everywhere, but in every single family. And with the story with a lot of leaders in Vietnam who's a female, the story is still there. They still need to come home after whole working, a lot of workload at work, but come back home to cook in order to please the husband, to do all the housework, and it's happening every day. My story just go back to where is what people talking about some good-looking lady, what you can do in, government, what you do in business, or most of the answer for that, they are just flower vase. They live there to look at. But for those, in my story as well, we just don't want to accept that. And we feel like that there is something that we would like to do our best in order to, challenge that sort of norm. So again, I still believe that changing right now because we're talking about technology and how good you are as you and the inspiring women coming here. And with this kind of a forum, the more anything like this would inspire other ladies. Like actually, that's my story before. I have no way believe that I will be able to sit and talk in different forums, including this. Because before, we don't believe that we have a chance to do so.
Okay, it's great. I think it's a great discussion, and the discussion actually remind me of one time a few years ago when I listened to the radios, the talk about the work-life balance among women and with a higher education and higher position in the different company. And the woman who called in was having a PhD, and she found herself a good job, but a little bit conflict between the achievement in the professional side and the happiness in the family side, where at that time, in this culture, in our regional cultures, where the her husband have a lower education, and she found it's hard to integrate her husband into her own community. I think this is the balance where we need to think and continue to discuss that. I think since I believe we have only half an hour for the whole sessions, and now I would like to open the floor for the audience to ask questions to our great panelists. Is there any questions on women-related discussion, please?
Please, here.
Thank you for inspiring insights, first of all. What do you think? Should you, ladies who want to empower your fellow ladies, engage more men who want to support you in what you do, rather than try to do it alone?
Yeah. Yes. Maybe. I think start.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah. We don't want to do it alone. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of these, as you mentioned, there's a lot of these he for she programs already out there. I think that the biggest question. So typically, like I being asked sometimes, like, okay, so like this great stuff that you're doing, but why do you wanna like separate men and women? Like, like why don't we talk about entrepreneurs? Why we have to talk about female entrepreneurs? And I agree. If life would be perfect, but I mean, it's I think that this is something that has to happen. So I think that so the reason why I think there are a lot of these female kind of consortiums and a lot of like female focus groups is that so again, by data, by research, this helps. Because there's a certain camaraderie, and like perhaps there's sometimes some things that it's easier to kind of ask for advice from people that kind of share your some of the problems that not necessarily everybody has. So it can be gender focused, but then typically also most of the problems are just any other like entrepreneurial problems. I mean, like where to get funding. I mean, where to hire the best developers. It's just regular stuff, but. Going to the question, like getting men involved, obviously yes. And I think that's something that, for example, like in our conference, what we're doing now is that. So, for example, like we last year we had about 30% men in the conference. So typically in a technological conference, you would have about 70 to 80% men and 20 to 30% women. So we kind of like reversed that. And I think that it is important, and I think we have to do more work to get more men involved. But I think the first thing to answer is question why. Why are these women focus groups happening? Why is this movement now happening? And I think this is something that we as also women, and we as running these kind of organizations, like we have to make it clear that this is not about equal opportunity. This is not about it's a business case. We're talking about a business case here, and there's a lot of data that backs. Like why is it necessary to get more women into, for example, leadership positions? Why is it important to get more women into, technological positions? I think it's a business case, and I think we have to start kind of taking it more from that angle, that like data points, case studies, experiences, like why is it so important? Why are all these big technological companies now investing in diversity? Like why is it a bottom line issue for all these companies? And I think that once we kind of hit that note, so I think then at the same time we will get more, kind of like gender diversity also within the female groups as well. Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to answer your question is more from perspective of if you would be able, as a woman leader, would be able to engage your husband, your partner, or the people who work with you, the man who could be able to understand your work. The answer is yes. I've been seeing the success with husband and wife, the families and partner. But in order for those, I'm talking about more like Vietnamese society, where the Vietnamese men still could not be able to handle the fact that the woman is better than them. Whenever you say that in a different conference, I just tell you the truth that it's still there and it could be able to change with so many social norms we need to changing. But I agree with her that as the business case, it needs to act as a business partner. But if back into the families or relationship, my partner, for example, we need to separate both. And it's not easy, like the way we talk. So I just have a quote of, I actually normally talk to the ladies and in general, people talk about us like iron butterfly. And 4 years ago, I could be quoted in called female roses with the steel appearance. So what I'm trying to say is either you strong as iron or steel, because hardship and life actually make you become one that strong. But let's say as a woman, it's a beautiful goal in life would make you as flowers or butterflies, because we want to keep the feminine inside of it. So it makes sure that the people working with us in particular context, families or relationship, will be able to see us still a leader, but still could be able to act as a woman.
Sue, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, let me say a few words about how we're approaching it at Panama Capital. I think we're incredibly lucky to, have full buy-in from our leadership team, who is all men, actually. And we've had our entire investment team go through 3 days of gender lens investing training, right? And that's, 60% of them are men. And they sat through the 3 days of gender lens investing training just like everyone else. And I think, because they wanted to. And I think they were just as active participants, asking a lot of questions and really understanding, and exploring their own biases just as we were as women exploring our own. I think it's so important because if we think strategically about, how do we actually make a difference, right? How do we use our influence as investors, as board members to drive change at these companies? I think it's often easier for some of my colleagues who are, 50-something American guys in Asia making this case as board members versus myself, when sometimes I'm the only woman on a board. I try and save my points for other matters sometimes, because I think if I was the one always talking about gender and have you thought about your diversity policy, et cetera, I'd be pigeonholed into that particular box. And that's something that I'm trying to avoid. It's not to say that I don't care, but you have to pick your battles. And I think having some firepower from our male colleagues is so important in actually making that happen.
Okay, so doctor, no. So is there any other question? Oh, a lot of questions. So.
We have one last question.
Yes.
Thank you, Marco. So the last question for... Okay. So one question for the lady.
Good morning, everyone. I would love to ask about women empowering other women in job. So I would love to share a little bit about my story. I'm the only child in my family, but I have witnessed a lot of other families with boys and girls where mothers teach their daughters to cook and do the housework, while they teach their son to learn and get their ambitions. And my mother and my female friends, when they know about my ambitions, often advise me to stop and try to look for a husband first in order to have a happy life. And also, I'm the leader, the head of the youth union in my department and my university, and I have observed that my students, when they vote for positions in the board of the youth union, even the female students, they don't vote for their female colleagues. And they shared to me that they didn't believe in themselves, and they didn't believe in their female colleagues that they can do the job as good as the men. And I would love to ask you about the women believing in themselves and then therefore believing in the female colleagues and co-workers or family members. Thank you.
So, the questions is...
Yeah, so I think overall we as people, we as women, we just have to get thicker skin. I think that I think it's just there's so many people in we will especially if you're going into any kind of business, setting up your own business or everything. So everybody has opinion. about what you're doing, and everybody has an opinion. You hear like no all the time. You know, you get a lot of rejections, for example. So you need to get a really thick skin to kind of like embrace failure sometimes as well. I think that goes back to, you know, kind of like what you mentioned. I think that one thing is that like once eventually like this is life for yourself, you build it as you wish it to look like. And I think that you really need to, especially this mentorship aspect becomes really, really important. I think that's why the female groups are playing a big role here, because you're able to find people that will make sure that you keep believing in what you do and believing yourself when there are times that people are in everywhere around you, in your family, in your friends, they're basically telling you like that you can't do this, or the fact that you're doubting yourself, which happens, you know, quite a lot. I mean, you know, because you're doing a lot of decisions on a weekly daily basis. So I think that I would say that, you know, getting yourself involved, for example, in these, you know, female groups could actually help out to find a mentor or find a few mentors that are on a senior level, and they have gone through what you are going through. So I think it's easier for you then to kind of look outside of the box and just really just keep on doing what you want to do.
I have another response to that. Actually, I think this as a woman to show that whether we better than men or just simply we are good. I think that's important. But at the same token, I think that it's about how you work really hard in order to know what exactly you want, what your passionate is about, and like you said, to find the right mentor. But the same token would be working in the labor market in Vietnam. Soft skill is something that's young, you know, people is very lack of. They could be able to engage with the team member. They could be able to work with talk to the boss in order to defend their own idea. A lot of skill that actually that make the workplace become better in order to show you good, but you still would be able to engage people around you. That actually I see a lot of young people has been lacking so far. So I think in the same token that you showing, you know, your own pursuing your own goal, you know, you supposed to, especially in the context of Vietnam, you know, to build your own genuine woman, feminine, you know, characteristic, you know, to, you know, build up that soft skill. And the same token could be good for you, and that is.
Okay, let me check with the MCs about the times, and if we are able to receive one more question. So I saw just one final question. I saw the hand raised somewhere there.
Sorry, which one?
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for such amazing presentation from you guys. It inspired us a lot to keep being a strong woman. So it's just one question relating to women in tech. How difficult you have found so far in empowering women in technologies? Because I have been working with a lot of women organizations as what my company is doing. Is it hard to empowering women in tech? Because I see the men is amazing. They already knows this everything in technology. But I have been teaching a lot of women in technology. I found difficult. So how you guys feel about that? And you guys take a really big role to empowering women in technology. So can you share a little bit feeling all the women around here? How technologies are important and what difficult you have been so far in empowering women in that? Thank you so much.
I think, yes, if you
I
have.
think the idea, my personal perspective is that the idea behind this, I think my colleagues also share the same thinking. That is that even you are the man or female, you do like my colleague just shared. You do what you are good at and what you have passion on. It means if you are the full female and you like engineering, you like math, and go ahead, just do what you want, and don't stop and prevent yourself by not being confident. So that's the key. The thing behind is that I don't think there is any difficulty for women. Of course, unless they release their fear of failure and they fear they are not belong to the world of the male. So you just go ahead. And also the second point I would like to share with you. here it seems like we think the women have so many challenges and difficulties, but I think the men also they have their own difficulties. What do you think? What kind of difficulty? They can't cry as much as you can as a woman. That's the big thing. Just ask the men or the male friends around you. You will see the answer.
Okay, I think that's great. I think we have one of the most interesting panels
Can
so
I have
far.
a question?
So,
Panelists can have a question?
okay.
Get very short question
Okay,
for
so
our
very short question.
panelists and people down here. Maybe it's the reason why I'm here. I understand that there's now startup as a wave of startup who's focused on technology, making Vietnam to be a new destination for a better, higher technology. But I would like to bring a question: is that any trend or is a good example out there that we would be able to learn if technology and startup actually interested in social innovation, which is be able to use technology to address social issue. We work on a worker right, woman right. Is any good example that could help us, or anyone we're interested in that kind of field that we be able to uphold better workers' right, women's right, human right. Because as I just learned about from a Bill Clinton Foundation, there are about $10 million to pay to work with the women's right index that we're able to evaluate to what extent the right of a woman will be able to have been violated. And then that's part of what we're doing, but just for Vietnam in the worker right.
Thank you. Well, we should definitely talk more because this is really core to what we've been tackling over the past few decades, actually. And I mean, to answer your question, I think there's absolutely a lot of opportunities to use technology to solve, the problems, particularly of worker rights, domestic helpers, et cetera. In fact, there's an entire fund, I think it's called Humanity United, which has been set up to invest in companies using technological solutions applying technological solutions to these challenges. I think we ourselves have invested in a company which is providing employee benefits to frontline factory workers in Vietnam, as well as a number of countries in Southeast Asia, iCare Benefits. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with that, but I think, for us, the reason why we're investing in Southeast Asia at all is because we see this kind of intersection of kind of technology and this wave of startups, as you say, but then also the kind of pervasive social problems which are still remaining. And I think for us, we see there's a lot of room for very dedicated entrepreneurs to be tackling these problems.
Okay, great. I think we still have a lot to discuss about, but I get the signal from the organizers a few times already that we are really run out of time. So thank you very much for all the great panelists.